This is Real Race Talk from Texas. It's the Revved Up Sports Show. Here's Bobby Chaffee and Rodney Rodriguez.
Hashtag Real Race Talk from Texas on a Monday Fun Day. This Monday has felt to me like last Tuesday did. Bobby, I don't know if it's been that way for you, but man, it's like coming off a holiday weekend or something. That Houston race must have really took a lot out of us.
It sure did. I definitely slept rather well last night when I finally got home. I guess that's what happens when you spend too much time in the parking lot party at the Holiday Inn.
Another great party there at the Holiday Inn. I swear that I don't know who did it. Hold on, let me turn this. I've got TVs up. I've got everything up. Welcome to the Revved Up Sports Show, everybody. I hope your Monday's been good. And yeah, you know, I swear I went down to that parking lot and I had a box full of beer. Had a box full of cheap beer. And when it got time to go back, it was all gone. I don't know who the hell got it, but whoever did, I hope they enjoyed it. And the guy probably looked just like me. I will say that.
Maybe so. I know I was on the other side. I was on the other side partaking in the. I didn't get to play, but I was over by the cornhole.
Oh yeah, that was over
toss.
on the other side. Yeah.
Yeah, I was up on the other side of that party, so that's where I was at.
It's a good night. It was definitely a good night, and what was even better was what we saw on the track. And you gotta hand it to the old folks from the Texas Short Track Racing Series. Dodged some bullets there. You had two rain showers. That came in and threatened to really mess things up, and still managed to figure out a way to get it in and get it done on time, and that's super cool. And speaking of that, we will talk to the man that's got the big check. He's got the big check, and Bobby, even better, he's got the cash.
That's right. He had the cash done that night after the payout. I guess you don't always win it on the track, but that's half the battle, right? Half the battle is on the racetrack. The other half of the battle is inside the tech shed. So that's one way to really think about it.
Yeah, no doubt. And you had to know. I mean, you had to know where you had a situation with that. And the couple of the two teams that didn't make it through tech, it was a situation where it wasn't something that was. I mean. It could be an oversight on some of that. I mean, I don't know. You know, racers are racers, and these guys are really, really good at what they do. But, man, it was stuff that you just, to the naked or naked eye, however you want to say it, you're not just going to look there and see it. I mean, hats off to Denny Burton and Jack Sandifer and those guys, man. You talk about doing some surgery. You had shit everywhere in that tech shed on Saturday and Sunday morning.
Yeah, Saturday and Sunday morning there was transmissions laying everywhere. There were heads that were laying on the, well, I guess not necessarily laying on the ground, but there were heads taken off. There were transmissions out. There were shocks off. So all kind of stuff. Some of them trucks left in boxes, but I think for $10,000, I think Mason's okay putting his truck back together for that much.
Yeah, no doubt. And the severity of it, I mean, when you're dealing with that sort of money, I mean, that's just that's the way it should be. I mean, that's the way it should be. When you go to these big races around the country, that's what the tech shed looks like, and well done by everyone there, and super glad to see lots of fans out. They hung around, and a good show put on. Modified race was exceptional. Congratulations to Max Calles as he gets that monkey off his back, like I was talking to him afterwards, and that was a hell of a race right there. Those guys were digging.
Yeah, him and Moxley put on a fantastic show in the modified. A couple of the guys ended up being out due to technical issues or mechanical issues. So Casey Smith finally got beat, but granted he didn't get beat on the racetrack. Not sure exactly what happened to Casey, but I'm sure somebody will tell us there in the Facebook comments. But he was having an off night for sure. But that modified race was great. All the racing was really good. The racing, there was a good finish in the eco stocks and a good finish in the trucks and an exceptional finish in the modifieds. So there was even some good racing there with the legacy cars as well. Outlaws still need a little bit of work, but there was some really good racing side by side between Robert Barker and Augie Grill until Grill had some first night blues mechanical issues on his 196.
Augie Grill. So great topic of conversation right there. As I was a man of the people again out in the stands the other night, like I like doing that, and I said, you know what, we're going to do it tonight, especially with the weather that was going to be that we had coming. But the cone, the question was, did he really get thrown out because of the cone? And he did. That is seriously what happened. on the restart there in the modifieds, he made contact with the cone, and the rules there say you got to go out. I know some tracks are different with the way they do that. I personally think that rule should be revisited there with the Texas Short Track Racing Series. But, geez, what a heartbreaker there for AG.
And he was coming, too. I'm with you on that boat. I'm with you on that boat where I think they need to go ahead and look at that rule again. To me, it's too severe of a punishment to be popped out if you run over the cone. I get that sometimes it is what it is, but obviously I could see being put to the rear. It's not like it's one of those fancy cones like John Mandebach used to have down there at Houston Motorsports Park. I mean, it's a gigantic cone, and cones are expensive, but I mean, I think the rule does need to be revisited, not just because it was Augie Grill that hit it, but there's been a couple of instances throughout this season where they've had issues hitting the cone and they got tossed out. At most, I think they need to be sent to the rear for popping up the cone. So That's me. I don't think it's a black flag offense to be taken out for the rest of the night.
Yeah. Yeah, that sucked. Bad night for Augie, but I can tell you one thing, because John Heil is the one that actually crossed the finish line first in that truck, and what a battle. I mean, those two guys, they got after it. I mean, Stephen Davis and John Heil and Mason and David Webster. You got to hand it to David Webster. David, I talked to David at length before the race. I think on the Texas Short Track Racing Series page, you can see where he and I were talking, doing some live stuff, but he told me off camera, he's like, man, this truck is not there. I mean, it's not where I need it. And he mentioned something that I was talking to Bruce Wright. Bruce Wright's on here checking stuff out. Thank you, Bruce. Congratulations, Bruce, by the way, on a good run. And the other thing, congratulations on that. But Bruce was David echoed what Bruce and these guys have done. David Webster told me, he's like, point blank, I didn't work on this truck a lot. I was used to, we'd go check, make sure everything was right, and then we just kind of go out and race. But the bar has been raised, and we saw it with a Class A field in that race. There were 22 trucks in the race, and I had some folks that were saying, well, it's only 22. It's a damn good 22 of them.
Yeah, there was definitely not a lot of slouches in that race. I think if you got to look at some of those bigger shows. If there would have been a chance to get 30, 32 trucks like we thought may have come, some of the guys that might have shown up might not have been to the caliber of some of the top of that crew, but there was a good solid field of trucks out there where you knew you had 6 or 7 guys that were going to be able to go and contend for a win in that. And so that's what made that the best race of the night, just because there were so many good quality trucks that you knew had a chance at winning. You had J.C. Umscheid coming in from North Carolina.
Yeah.
Obviously, you had Stephen Davis come in from Florida. Then you had the local people. Sean Grimlin actually showed up. Not Sean Grimlin.
No. Boy, now if he showed up.
If he showed up.
Wow. That's like on the radio show when I said Michael Jackson was buying a NASCAR team. Said that on the radio, y'all. How about that?
Yeah, Sean Paul Lehman showed up, which he did. Had a tough night with him. The first time that truck's been on, and hell, even the wild man Mark Rudimsky brought his truck out. It had a wrap on it, and so I thought that was somebody from Pensacola because it actually had a number 39 wrap on it. I thought that was somebody from Pensacola because every truck I've seen with Mark, it's either got just generic little numbers, duct tape numbers on the side of that truck. So
yeah.
It was good to see Grodimski back out there.
Painted in flat black like the Dirty 30 always has been. So, yeah, good to see those guys out there. Full results, we'll post them up here. But it did wind up as Mason Teague, who will join us at 7 o'clock, David Webster, and then you had the showstopper Jake Wright, Flying Ryan Lucia driving Alan Alexander's truck, and Corey Roper ends up in the top 5. Of course, you had John Heil, Stephen Davis. They didn't get through the Room of Doom. I know that's used at another track, but it was definitely the Room of Doom on Saturday night. And the tension there, Bobby, it was, man, that was crazy to be a part of that and to watch all of that as it was happening. And you're watching Bruce and David Webster and all these guys that are on deck. And I told Alan Alexander at one point, we're sitting there, sipping on a cool one. And I'm like, dude, you might want to, leave because you're getting pretty damn close. They're going to pull you in there.
No, I mean, it was. I know at one time we were sitting there and Bo told David Webster to not go anywhere. That's when you knew stuff was starting to expand out. It was so funny when they started drilling that shaft and that transmission of John Hiles, where it's like I was telling you that there was the old Geico commercial where they have the little gophers that jump up and try to off the cubicles and kind of see with their heads popping up and all of that. That's exactly what that was like.
Yeah.
There over there in the tech shed when they started bringing out that drill and drilling in that shaft and that transmission, everybody kind of peeked their heads up and kind of slowly but surely inched towards the garage door over there in the tech shed.
Yeah, to take a peek there. And I can tell you, we can talk about how exciting it was and the excitement there for Mason and all of those guys. Good dudes picking up some money there. But I saw the heartbreak, of Rick Polero. I mean, the owner of the '96 truck, and I mean, he walked right by me, kind of gave me a look after everything was determined, and I mean, I was crushed for him, and it was. You talk about the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. I talked to Stephen Davis a little bit later in the night. It was actually in the morning when I talked with him, and at the time he was okay, but it hurt. It hurt, and that's the magnitude of what this race just was. And we'll talk with Mason here in just a little bit more about it as he joins us at 7. And then coming up at 7:35, super excited, we'll talk to Denise West. She's with the Lone Star Quarter Midget Club and those guys in San Antonio out there at Comanche Park off Rigsby Road. They've got a big race coming up on this weekend, and man, they're in a fight for their lives out there to keep that quarter midget track. 61 years they've been doing that, and we'll talk to her, kind of get the ins and outs of what's happening there. It's a tough scenario there. Bobby, we got to talk about Greg Davidson, our man. That's a guy near and dear to so many of us, and Greg was at the racetrack on Friday, ready to go, and he had some complications there. I mean, Greg's been through so much, and he made what we've called the ultimate comeback, and he had a setback there, and he's still digging right now. Wasn't able to be at the race this weekend, and that was gut-wrenching for us in so many ways, just because you want to see Greg on the track, but it's just because everything that he's been through and how positive he's been, and he's fought and he's fighting hard still. But man, it sucked not having him there at the track this weekend.
Yeah, it really did. It was kind of a sad situation there, especially when the Outlaws came out. You were like,
yeah,
Greg's not here. That's when it really hit the most, is when you didn't see that black number 96
right.
there racing for the championship. But I don't know. It's sad. Greg is one of those guys. He doesn't try to raise a lot of stink with his health issues there for a while. So unfortunate news there from Heather last night that you got to see on Facebook. So thoughts and prayers from our family, definitely over to the Davidson family and all the siblings and families and aunts and uncles and all that over there. So Greg is he's one of the show favorites. We love having him on, and he has some of the best stories that you can, talking about the golden age of late model racing there in the great state of Texas.
Yeah, and it got to talk to Heather there for a little bit after the races, and really cool moment there with her, and much appreciated. I think I saw her on here earlier, and we're fighting there with you, Greg. So we'll keep you posted on all of that, and I'm sure he'll figure out a way to still get out there. I mean, so it's all good. It's all good. But we'll talk about that more here in just a little bit. But we will go to the hotline. I said 7 o'clock, but hell, we're actually a little bit early. I think rich guys, I think, are just ready to talk. I think is what the deal is. So let's hit the hotline and talk to the man that's probably finding relatives coming out of the woodwork. I mean, when you win the lottery, you get cousins and brothers that you didn't even know you had that are calling, looking for a loan, on hard times. And the Hurricane Mason Teague joins us. He wins the Texas Truck Challenge at HMP. Mason, how many people have asked you for a loan since Sunday morning?
And honestly, not too many, Rodney.
Nice. That's good.
Surprisingly enough.
Yeah, man, that is awesome to hear. So has the new war off of this yet? Or are you still just totally baffled by the way everything went down?
Honestly, I'm still kind of in shock, Rodney and Bobby. Still trying to soak it all in.
Yeah, I bet.
So, what point are you going to take all that money to the bank and end up? What you plan on doing with that? You going to put some more money in that truck and finally get a new racing body on it, or you just going to do the smart thing and hold on to it for a little bit?
Well, hell, I think the first idea is to get the truck back together and out of the totes that it came home in. Other than that, I've got a little one to take care of too, as you guys know.
Yeah.
But it should help out towards that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about that. That's the most important part of it right there for it. So tell us about the weekend. I mean, how was it? You guys get there. You hadn't been on the track in a while. I mean, you guys put this truck together. Definitely not a walk in the park for you.
Not at all, Rodney. Yeah, we had the idea. It's been about 2 years since I've been in the truck. My dad, as you guys know, drove it last year, won the championship out there. But about 3 weeks ago, Jake Kruger had come to me and said, man, we need to get this truck together. And about 3 weeks ago, it was sitting in the corner of my shop, no body on it, no rear end in it, no motor in it. And a lot of long late nights in the shop with all the guys. And Kruger Motorsports put one hell of a piece together, to be honest. But we went into the race weekend. I think we showed up Friday morning, started practice. Everything was going pretty smooth. We had a couple kinks to work out of the truck, got all that stuff worked out. We had a really good long run truck for Saturday. Got a good qualifying position. Jake put a really good setup on it for long run. We didn't really have a chance to showcase it because of all the cautions that kept coming out and allowed for that short run there at the end. But it was one hell of a weekend, man, to say the least. I really have to thank all the guys that busted their ass in the shop day in and day out to help get it together.
No doubt.
So, Mason, obviously, Rodney and I know your story more than some, but some of these people that listen from across the country don't know your background. Obviously, you're a third-generation racer with your grandpa Butch and your dad Jim. But talk about your background a little bit for those that don't know who Mason Teague was until they saw you on the TV on late night sports last night, and the guys that are listening to you and hearing about you for the first time.
Well, yeah, as you said, it started with my grandpa in Anderson Speedway, Indiana. And then shortly fell to South Austin over at Longhorn, where my dad and grandpa both raced. I think they raced there Friday night, Kyle on Saturday nights, and I believe San Antonio or one track was running Sunday nights as well. So I got to grow up a lot around the racing scene. And in 2006 is when we built our first car. My dad had actually rolled in the driveway with a 76 Chevelle on the trailer that me and still the same guys now that are helping all kind of looked at and were like, "You're going to make this into a race car?" And soon to follow, we got it together, went out, won a track championship. I got Rookie of the Year in 2007 in the Thunderstock. Won a championship in 2009 in the Thunderstocks. Moved up to Street Stock, got Rookie of the Year in that class. We were the first year in Street Stocks. We were, I think, 6 or 8 points shy of going to that ASA deal that I think Kerry Staff had gotten the opportunity to go to.
Yeah.
To go test the Cup car out. Then we moved into the Truck Series in 2012, won 2 track championships and Rookie of the Year at 2 tracks in 2012. And then after that, man, life, age starts getting to you and life starts happening. Racing fell kind of to the wayside for a little while. We did some racing in 2014 with John Alverson. He was with Key Solutions at the time. We had a lot of success there. And now here we are 6 years later. It's kind of intermittent for me. I kind of race when I can and when I have time.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, Mason, that is one of the things. I mean, there are a lot of things that I admire about you. You were. I mean, you know, I love your dad. I love your team. I mean, so many years myself with these guys, but I just love how when it came time for kids and it came time for everything, came time for wives, and you've got a great wife. You know, Meredith is just a great lady. When it came time for that, man, you put those priorities in line and you said, this is what I need to do, and the racing stopped, man. Talk about that. What was that tough? I'm sure it was, but how'd you work through all that, especially being such a young dude?
Honestly, Rodney, yeah, it is tough to just put it to the wayside because I do love racing, and now it's to the point where little man's able to come to the racetrack and actually enjoy it, and we can start doing it as a family again. Yeah. But putting it to the side was tough. I mean, I've still been out there and watched. I try to support the local tracks as much as I can, and show up and still watch, even if we don't have a race car there. Yeah. But now that he's getting a little bit older, it's getting a little bit easier. So you guys might see me a little bit more around the track.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
So, Mason, we had guys on here that have been for a long time, like you have. We've had guys like Steve Sims and some other local guys on here. Their core group has been the ones that are constantly around them, like from day one. Talk about the relationship you have with all your crew guys, man. That they have always been a mainstay there with you, regardless of what you're racing, and they're a hell of a fun group to hang around too.
Yeah, they are. Funny story, man. Probably 75% of my race team works for the city of Austin. My dad, late 90s, early 2000s, got involved with a couple guys from work, Jay and Frankie. And funny story, my dad actually used to pick Chris, who's now, I think, he's been around for probably, 20 plus years. My dad actually used to pick him up from grade school.
Wow.
and drag him to the racetrack to help my dad back when he was racing.
Jeez.
And all of them just kind of stuck around. I keep saying friends, man. They're all more like family. We go camping together. We do everything outside of racing. We all still try to stick together and do it. And when the race car gets pulled out, it still gets everybody pumped up and going.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And Mason, along those lines, I mean, one thing that I've always thought is so cool, is just so cool about your team is, I'm a Hispanic dude, no doubt about it. And my dad and I, we when you look at all the racing team, you had us, and everybody, we were all friends. Your guys, I mean, we're all a big family. We've got African American guys, we got white guys, we've got Mexican people, man, and that's what this sport is all about, the love of it.
Absolutely, Rodney. Honestly, it's funny you say that, because for a lot of the time there, I was probably one of the only teams in there that did have a couple of African American guys helping us on it.
I'm sure.
And it is kind of fun to have the big family and the big race team and everything, and everybody gets along, and it all works out really well. And back to what you had said, Rodney. Me and you, I remember racing door to door with you for actually quite a few years.
Yeah.
And before that, you were door to door with my dad racing back in the day with street stocks and stuff. So it is a big family, man. At the end of the day, skin color doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're black, blue, or white. You can get the job done, and we all work good together. It just works out.
Well said, brother. Well said.
So, Mason, I got a chance to talk to you before the races were going on. It seemed like you felt confident about your truck, and you were kind of expecting it, and along with myself, expected it to be a little race have a little bit more calamity than what it had. But talk about your feelings before the race. I mean, you seemed to be calm, cool, and collected, and you had a pretty decent qualifying run.
Yeah, I mean, starting in the field like that with, some of the best racers in Texas, you got to just kind of stay humble and calm, cool, and collected, like you said, Bobby. And you can't go getting worked up or anything like that. I mean, again, it's just a race at the end of the day, no matter the pay. It's just a race. You try to go out there and just race everybody like you want to be raced. And I, honestly, with everybody showing up, I was expecting a lot of competition, and it surely was there. Like I said, some of the best guys in the state of Texas.
No doubt about that. I mean, it really was. And your thoughts with that? I mean, because you had Boyette in there and Stephen Davis. As everything was going on for you guys throughout the race day, how was your mindset for this? I mean, we don't get to race for this kind of money. And how'd you keep yourself in check, man? Because you were cool as hell, throughout the entire race.
Honestly, our goal, me and Jake, kind of set a goal at the beginning to just come in, be humble, and kind of finish where we finished. Obviously, our goal is to come and win $10,000 and take the trophy home.
Sure.
We always like to win them on the track, but we just went into it with the mindset of a good long run car. We figured there would be some more green flag runs than there was. We kind of got killed by the cautions there early on. But honestly, you can't come into races like this being overwhelmed and overworked, because it never works out in the long run. You just kind of get in where you can fit in.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, Mason, you mentioned Jake Kruger a couple of times in this interview. How did you guys? Even I don't know this story. How did you guys finally get hooked up and start running with Kruger Motorsports? I'm interested to see how that relationship started.
And a lot of people don't know, but me and Jake actually graduated together.
Really?
It was back in, and I've known Jake for probably 16, 17 years. We rode the bus together. We had no idea that either one of us raced at Thunder Hill Raceway.
Wow.
It was back when he was in the Legacies, and I had just started in the Thunder Stocks. And he had heard me talking to some other kid on the bus and was like, "Man, where do you race at?" And from that point on, me and Jake have been the best of friends, honestly. His mom actually got me grounded one time when I first got my driver's license. I was driving my stepmom's Camaro down the access road in San Antonio, and I actually passed Jake's mom on oncoming lane of traffic. And Deb Kruger no longer allowed Jake to ride with me. I think 8 months to a year before Jake was ever allowed to ride with me again in a vehicle. But me and Jake go way back.
Yeah, sounds like it. So, Mason, how cool was it last year? Because we talked about that Jim had been driving the truck there. Now, Jim was a champion. We were giving him a hard time over there at the Rail House, early in the season. But how cool was it, last year to see the old man jump out there and win that championship? Man, that was pretty cool.
It is, Rodney. It actually, back to Jake, we had discussed putting the truck together. Because my dad had talked about it. We decided to put the truck together and do the throwback wrap scheme for him.
Yeah.
To give him a shot to go out there, and he didn't win any races, but he was consistent as hell all year long.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely knocking on the door, but in the end, it worked out for him. But it was pretty cool to see my dad back in it all the years he's put into it for me, and the blood, sweat, and tears that have went into it for me. So it was cool to be on the back side of it, wrenching on it all year long to help him do what he also loves.
Yeah, no doubt.
So Mason, what's next for you, boss? Are you going to try to make a few more races to end this year? Are you one and done, or is it too early to tell? I mean, I know you got to put the truck back together, but there's a couple of races left at HEP. Any thoughts about coming back for the last 2 races?
Yeah, we talked about coming back in 2 weeks if we can get the motor back from getting sent off and having it resealed.
Yeah.
We plan on being there in 2 weeks for sure. The Speed Fest on the 26th of October.
That's perfect.
And I believe we might have some plans to run the Derby this year with the truck.
Nice. That is awesome, man. That is so good to hear, man. We'll get a good contingent down there. Your thoughts coming up on the 26th? I mean, it's $3,000 to win. Going to be a pretty good payday again. Back-to-back paydays there in Houston.
For sure. They kind of set the bar a little high with the 10K to win, so I'm hoping that $3,000 still draws some more trucks in.
Yeah.
But yeah, it should be a good turnout. Like I said, there was a lot of good competitors that just missed the setup or just had a rough weekend. Man, there's, like you had mentioned earlier, Logan Boyette. I mean, he had a rough weekend. JC kind of had a rough weekend as well. Those are all good contenders that are there that were expected to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think everybody's going to want to come back and try to showcase again.
They want to beat you. They want
to. I don't know about that.
They want to come beat the $10,000 man.
Yeah, it pays to be legal, Rodney. It pays to be legal.
Yes, sir. I've been told that.
So what goes through your mind in tech like that? Obviously, when I rolled up over there, you guys already had the transmission out because y'all started teching before the end of the Outlaw race. But, what goes through your mindset when you're over there? I mean, first you go from being third, taking the truck apart. Then all of a sudden you hear the rumors that the second place guy gets disqualified. So now you're up to second. And then all of a sudden they come back over there and they start wanting to take more and more pieces off your truck. What's your mindset right there? I mean, you seem calm, cool, and collected while that was going on. Had the crew up over there working, getting the truck apart. But what was going through your mind there during that time of the night?
Honestly, Bobby, we try so hard to follow the rule book to a T. There's always those gray areas for all racers, but honestly, we try to follow the rules to a T. That way, when we go to the room, we don't ever lose races in tech. And that is something that I can say for my career. I've lost one race in tech. I got disqualified back in 2008. I dropped the harmonic balancer with 5 laps to go, lost all the water in the radiator.
Yep. And
I believe we were 8 to 12 pounds light when we rolled across the scales, and that actually cost us a championship as well. But that was kind of a racing deal. But back to that, Bobby, we just like to follow the rules and not lose. We'll lose on the racetrack, but we're not going to lose in tech. That is one thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said. Very well said. And that people need to follow that rule. I mean, because that's the beauty of it. So your thoughts about these trucks, Mason? Because you've raced these trucks for a while, but so are they? Because these trucks never get this sort of tech treatment like they do. I mean, in Pensacola, they don't do this. We talked about it on Saturday night. They're worried about, not worried, but the emphasis there is super late models, pro late models, all of that. This truck series, is it still an affordable series where you can, run this class a couple times a month for a regular dude, for just a regular guy?
Honestly, Rodney, it's probably not a very good entry level class anymore. It's funny you say that. We were actually just talking about it this last weekend. there's not really a good entry level class at the track anymore as far as rear wheel drive cars go. I mean, you've got your eco stocks out there that, don't get me wrong, they're a blast to drive, but
Sure.
to get the rear wheel drive feel of a race car and the true feeling of it, the truck series have kind of, when we started back in 2012, lap times at HMP 1590s, you were getting somewhere around the track, and now we're in we ran a 1518 2 years ago when we brought the truck out the last time, and that's almost a second of that times have picked up within the last 4 years, 4 to 6 years in the trucks, and they've kind of got away from that affordable class, but I mean, it's still a fun class to be in. But yeah, you do have to put a little bit more time and focus on the suspension setup and the motors and everything like that. So
yeah.
So Mason, when you talk about racing with your dad, what's more fun, racing against your dad on the racetrack or helping your dad win?
Honestly, racing on the racetrack with him is fun, but helping him win and wrenching on his equipment and just seeing the joy in his face of watching his youngest son do it is pleasing to me. So I would have to say racing with him or watching him race. Sorry.
Yeah. And a lot of folks are talking on the Facebook feed about because the last thing they were checking there was the cylinder heads, and I was standing there watching all of that as it happened. I'm just sitting there trying to figure out what's going to happen. Your thoughts? I mean, you knew they were okay, but still, when something starts to take a little bit of time, I mean, you do start to wonder what the hell's going on here. I mean, what were you processing through your mind at that point?
Honestly, I wasn't really worried when you got a head that looked like it had 150,000 miles on it that you're comparing to my brand new head. There probably is going to be some difference between the two. But we were actually on the phone with Dwayne McGonigal the whole entire time. Funny story, we actually got that motor the Wednesday before the race. We almost didn't make it, but we had actually had a new McGonigal motor made for the race. And it came in just in time on Wednesday. We put it in, and yeah, we were in contact with Mr. McGonigal the whole weekend, and he was very confident in his work and stuff. So I mean, if a certified engine builder is that confident, and you gotta kind of stand behind him.
Mm-hmm. That's for damn sure. That is for damn sure. That was a sweet moment.
It was really fun watching you guys celebrate the win there, Mason. But so in terms of the overall scope, you talked about the trucks not being an entry level class. Where do you see the trucks going? Are they right in the middle to where they're not as advanced as a late model, but they're still more advanced than say a factory stock or something like that? What's the state of the trucks as a whole right now for you, in your opinion, since you've got one of the older trucks in the series?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Bobby. We probably have the oldest truck on the racetrack outside of Brandon Leonard's Arts chassis as well. But it's not an entry level class, but it's not as expensive as a pro or super late model, because you do still have a lot of your stock suspension like drag link, tie rod, and stuff like that. But yeah, when it went to the Ford 9 inches, it starts to get a little bit more expensive, and then when you're allowed the super T10 transmissions, that's a little bit of cost. And now that they've opened the crate motors up where you don't have to run them sealed versus unsealed, so it's kind of like an open crate motor. There are people with a little bit more funds than other teams that are allowed to get or able to get a little bit more out of them. But we keep hacking this old dinosaur up and making it faster each year. So I don't see the sense in going and getting one of the new ones.
No, man, I tell you, you were steady and super fast, and I mean, it's great to see you back out there. And I mean, what a run! Let's talk about Meredith. I mean, to do this, you've got a great lady right there. We all know her from the CTS days, kind of when she came aboard there, and you snagged the pretty girl, the good girl. So good job there. But talk about her. I mean, she puts up with all of this, and it takes a lot of time, and you have to have that good support system behind you.
No, absolutely, Rodney. Well, as you know, she manages a race team, so she's kind of already familiar with how much time and money it takes to do so. But funny you say that. She's actually been on my butt more than anybody to get the truck back going, to get out there, because she enjoys coming to Houston and watching me race, wherever it may be. But she's a very good support system, and that's definitely what makes it happen. If it wasn't for a good wife at home, I probably wouldn't be making it.
Ain't no doubt about that.
So Mason, you were talking about the throwback to yourself, and I was giving you grief about, are you that old where you can run a throwback to yourself? Talk about the effect that you've had, how everybody gives you grief about your nickname.
Yeah, it's funny. So the nickname, I guess it came back in, you actually gave it to me, Bobby, back in 2007 due to a paint scheme. But it's definitely a cool story piece to tell people. And we did kind of a throwback on the truck this last race. Jake and my dad had gotten together. Jake, Brandon Gaither, and my dad had gotten together on a throwback paint scheme to our Thunderstock days, where we had actually originally gotten the nickname Hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I come in and crash everything, so I guess I'll let you explain that one, Bobby.
I got to tell you, I thought it was. I mean, I didn't think it was funny, but these days of political correctness and all this, somebody posted on one of the things, Mason, I think Sunday morning, that a hurricane had rolled through Houston. And I'm like, oh, man, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, that's probably not good for the fans watching.
Well, Mason, I'll go back and tell the story about your nickname. Basically, that was back when the track management wanted everybody to have a nickname, right? That was when they were trying to get the crowd pumped up, and you guys would walk in through the grandstands and meet the crowd and fist pump and all of that stuff. And so everybody was trying to get nicknames for everybody. And about that, you were trying to run for a championship there. You were leading Rookie of the Year and up at the top of the points. And I was trying to think of something to nickname you, and all of a sudden your car did have that Hurricane logo on it. And some people thought, yeah, they joked, said, yeah, it's because you crashed everything. And I've had to modify the story a little bit from just being something as simple as a paint job on the car to being something to the extent that, just like a hurricane, you know that you're coming from the back to the front. There's nothing anybody can do to stop it. That's where we're at with it now. But I'm glad to see that the one little nickname has taken off and been such a good success where you got a business named after it and stuff like that. So I'm glad that I could do one good job for the home team there by giving you a good little nickname.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Bob. I appreciate that.
Hey, and Mason, I have to tell you, you were talking about you and I racing side by side. I as I got older, you young guys would start to come in, and you were one of the few young guys that never used the back of my car up, never used the side of my car up. So thank you for that. And I mean, that just goes to the way, that's still the way you race. I mean, and I think a lot of that is because you have to work on your own car or truck at this point.
No, absolutely. And it, yeah, I've always had some kind of way of paying for my racing, whether it be physically or mentally. But I've always got to work on it. I don't like tearing my equipment up. If I can just make it to the next race without having to do any work to it, that's where I want to be.
Yeah.
And also having the respect of other drivers, Rodney, is also good. When you can win and other racers actually appreciate it and congratulate you, and not everybody's sour and salty about it. So.
Yeah.
I try to race people how I want to be raced, and I've had a few occasional run-ins here and there, but everybody makes mistakes, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is very much a contact sport. And what I was really taken aback with, once everything went down and the winner was determined, that you were the winner, there have been so many people, your competitors, I mean, so many that have been excited for you. And that's where you know that you have that respect when you see the guys that you compete against that are genuinely happy that you're the guy that takes home the big check.
For sure. And it is a lot of fun racing with them guys. I mean, JC hadn't been out there in a few years, and it was fun to race door-to-door with him. It was fun racing door-to-door with John. It was fun racing door-to-door with little Jake.
Mm-hmm.
The Showstoppers come a long way over the few years, man. It was kind of surprising to be running behind him on a restart, but Jake's matured a lot in his age, and he's becoming a really good race car driver. So it's fun to race with those guys out there, man.
Yeah, absolutely. You do a great job, man, and I was totally happy. I mean, Bobby and I think I can speak for Bobby, where it gets tough because I mean, we don't want to root for guys because for one thing, we like most of you, but man, to see you guys, it's so cool because you're a homegrown team. I mean, speak to that. $10,000 for a homegrown team in a little bit older race truck. Man, that's got to be so special.
It is, Rodney. It is. I mean, we started in a one-bay garage,
wow.
having 3 race cars in one shop. We got to roll one out to work on the other one.
Yeah.
We've got a little bit bigger shop now and better, where I do my mechanics out of for Hurricane Automotive and Diesel Repair.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is really cool, Rodney. It's very humbling, to say the least, to come home with 10 grand and one of the biggest races in short track racing in Texas in many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool. And I appreciate what Gina and Bo and all of them are doing with Texas Short Track Racing Series. It's really cool to see people that motivated to keep the sport going. That's really what we need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. It just takes a few, and then you start building off it. And you guys, to see you guys out there, that was super exciting. And congratulations, man. So happy for it. I got home, and my wife said, Mason Teague won $10,000. I said, he sure as hell did. I said, he sure as hell did.
Yeah, the same reaction I did, Rodney.
Well, man, enjoy spending it and enjoy getting that truck back together. And man, get back out there. It's always good when you're a part of the fray.
No, for sure. And I've got a special thanks that I need to give to a group of people that have helped me. All the guys, late nights in the shop. I've got a list of sponsors. Baja, John Alverson. I need to thank him. He's a big part in making this race team what it is and helping us get to the track each time that we want to go. Spellman Specialties LLC for the sponsorship that he's provided over the years. Kruger Motorsports, Jake Kruger. He's one badass dude, man.
Yep.
And he's a good friend on and off the track. Good support. Team Teague Racing, all you guys know who you are. You've been around for many, many years and helped late nights in the shop, cussing, sweating. Brandon Gaither with BG Graphics. He actually was poking the bubbles out of the wrap as we were loading the truck and the trailer. So thank you very much for that, man. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have had as good looking truck as we did.
That's awesome.
Hurricane Automotive and Diesel Repair, cell phone shop. And also a special thanks to Gina and Bo, again, like I said earlier, with Texas Short Track Racing Series. That's a really good group of people. And also you, Rodney, and Bobby for the Revved Up Sports Show. You guys do a badass job with that, keeping short track racing alive.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. We appreciate that.
Yeah, cool.
I got to tell you, Mason, one of the funniest, before we cut you loose, one of the funniest parts of the nights for me was right at the end when we're done. And I said, hey, dude, let's do a quick Facebook Live. And you're like, I'm a little buzzed out. I'm like, don't worry, so am I. But apparently it went off pretty well.
No, it did. I think I don't know who started handing me the beers in tech, but they were flowing pretty good and smoothly. So.
Well, that just goes to show, man, you weren't worried. So that's super exciting, man. The inaugural Texas Challenge, $10,000, 75 laps at HMP, and it goes to Mason Teague, the Hurricane, man. Congratulations, dude. Thanks for taking the time and being a part of this. And if I ever need a couple of bucks, I know who to call.
For sure, Rodney. Thanks, Bobby and Rodney.
Absolutely, man.
Have a good one.
You bet. Take care.
All right, man. Take it easy, Mason.
There he is. And you know, when you start seeing all the big hitters that were rolling up into this race, and I mean, no offense to anybody, but a regular dude wins the race, and that's pretty badass. That is a great ending for that whole busy weekend.
It really was a good ending. I mean, obviously, I came to the track a little bit early to try to scope out, see what was there, and I did spend a little time with the Team Teague racing there in the pits before it happened. And he seemed pretty. He was as calm and cool, collected at the beginning of the night as he was at the end of the night when you did your victory lane. Victory interview with him over there by the tech shed. So it's nice to see one of the homegrown talents, one of the good friends of the show. We know that he listens a lot, and kind of nice when that happens, when you got a regular listener that finally gets the chance to be on the show because he wins the big money.
Yeah, he was super excited when I first went up to him. I'm like, okay, so you have to be on. He's like, oh shit. So, and then the Facebook Live came about. So I think the Facebook Live had him primed and ready. But what a great night for those guys, and a great night for everyone. I mean, a great night for everyone that was a part of that, and of course, thanks to Advanced Auto Parts and CarQuest and Die Hard and the whole conglomerate there, because they were out there in force and they were super excited about it. It was just a great night all the way around, and dodged some bullets there, like we were talking about with the weather and everything, but it all worked out. And big payday coming up for the modifieds on the 26, $7,000, $3,000 for the trucks, and the eco stocks get $500 again. So that's going to be pretty cool. Bobby, did you check out the Cars Tour? Have you been able to see any of what transpired with the Cars Tour this past weekend?
The only thing I've got to see is a couple of clips on Instagram and a couple of real quick clips on Facebook, and it seems like people were upset with a little bit of the carnage in that race this past weekend.
Man, they so Lane Riggs wins the race, and did a great job keeping his nose clean. It's 2 wins in a row, and Jared Fryer comes home third. I mean, Jared is so consistent and steady. He had the 1 win a couple of weeks ago. He was on the show. It's a 7-point lead now for Jared as they continue to battle on. But you had Nolan Pope and Ronald the Thrill Hill. They call him the Thrill. This is a guy like Jim Teague. I mean, this is a guy that's so laid back, and they get out there and there's this big old, mess. And when I was talking about young guys like Mason that respect the equipment and everything, the young guy Pope, they get into this mess, and he comes over, and I'm assuming it's him and his mom. You got to find this video. They come over and they want to start all this mess, and the Thrills pit crew, kind of takes him away, and the shot pans over, and Ronald Hill's leaning up against his car, smoking a cigarette, just watching this dude make a total ass out of himself. I'm like, that's short track racing right there.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to get a picture of that video.
Oh,
but
God,
I mean,
hilarious.
there was a lot of carnage, a little more carnage than normal out of a Cars Tour race. So normally those guys race a little bit better, but it is towards the end of the season. Scores need to get settled, and boxes need to be checked again to see where everybody's at with the payback. So didn't get to see a lot of that in Houston because I guess there hadn't been really a lot of tough races so far in Houston this year.
I got to tell you that 75 lap truck race, I was a little worried about. Obviously you're racing for a lot of money, and I tell you what was cool, because one of the negative things, the negative feedback that I was getting on that race from some folks was about the pay down, about 10,000 to 1,500 or whatever it was. I don't remember it as many times as I've said it. I don't remember what it was. But when I was talking to the competitors, one especially, he wasn't competing, but he had a truck, was Terry James, and Terry James was telling me early in the day, because I mentioned that to him, where I was quite frankly tired of hearing about that. Terry's response was, that's how you run a big race. You come to the track to finish first. I mean, you're not coming to run second or third or fourth or fifth. And that seemed to be the consensus of everyone that was there. And what I liked, because I talked to a lot of those truck drivers, I mean, it doesn't matter from the top of the grid down to the bottom. They were there to be a part of that special thing. And I think this thing is going to grow, and it can become a staple, I think. In all these big races we see, I think this one can really fit in and slot itself as an annual thing.
Yeah, I really think so. I think it's got a chance. The timing of it was a little off this year, just because you had the Night of Champions there with 5 flags, so that took away a few of the trucks, may have taken away some of the modifieds. But I think that's what's so important on this race coming up on the 26th, because the schedule, there doesn't seem to be anything competing against it at all. So we should have a bunch of modifieds, a couple of out-of-state guys coming in. Maybe they can, learn the track pretty quickly, and then I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple of more trucks come in, because $2,000 to win in the truck race, or $3,000, whatever it is to win, that's really not a bad payday either for the trucks again.
Yeah, and I've actually heard that even for the 17th, for that finale on the 17th, that there's a lot of folks from out of state that are talking about making that trip. So, details to be announced coming up for that one, because it's all been about this month of September. So we'll see what pans out when we get to October, moving forward for that one. But just a super good night. I think that all of that was great. We got to talk about the Boone Super Nationals. I mean, you talk about nonstop racing all damn week, and Ricky Thornton Jr. wins the All-Star Invitational, and that was a super big win for him. He's been trying that for some time, but I can tell you one of the things that I continue to see on Facebook and Twitter and all these different spots is, man, it looks like they are tearing some stuff up at the Boone Super Nationals, man. There is some wrinkled up race cars.
And that's not including the dude that hit that T-bone the light pole either.
Yeah.
Have you seen pictures of that car? That car is roasted and toasted, but It was a well-built car because of the fact that the driver wasn't more seriously injured than he was, got his bell rung pretty bad. But it's, you always hear about the Super Nationals being a bucket list race. Obviously, they had some issues this year with tearing up equipment, and then Mother Nature wasn't that kind to them this time either. But it's one of those to where you run for the big money, and you have a chance to see. It's the same thing that Terry said. You don't come to a big race like that to finish second. That's not what you come to do on a big race like that. Mm-hmm. Much like the Derby, nobody comes to the Snowball Derby to finish second.
Yeah.
They all want that Tom Dawson trophy and want their name on a T-shirt.
Yeah, and speaking of, I mean, the big races. I mean, you've got Night of Champions 2 coming up for Pensacola. Grant Thompson is a name that keeps getting thrown around, when we're talking about trucks and guys coming in, because the trucks are getting a lot of focus now, especially after this, the truck challenge this past weekend. But Grant Thompson, I mean, what a season there. I think he won 6 or 7 features there. He's the champion. He wins again on Saturday night. And, I mean, we talked to him on here, and I talked to his dad, and they really want to come down here and mix it up with these guys. I mean, quite frankly, I mean, I think the car counts here are a little bit, or truck counts, as it would be, I think are a little bit better here. They want to come down and mix it up. So if you get them in here as the Pensacola truck champion with Jake Wright and all of these guys, I mean, one of the things that I took out and was talking about on Saturday is I think with some of the guys that we hadn't seen in a while, you know how it goes. You get out there and you get the taste of it and the feel of it, and you want to keep coming back. I mean, I drove a golf cart and did a Facebook Live video on Saturday afternoon. Hell, I'm ready to start racing again. So I think this is something that's going to be really positive, where we see a lot of the guys from here that are going to want to mix it up with the guys from there.
Yeah, I think so. I think it opens up the door. Obviously, I think that Stephen Davis is the first guy to come down here and try to challenge and show that the Pensacola trucks can be competitive. His line was so weird around that racetrack, the way he was trying to diamond that corner. I think a lot of people were just looking. I thought he was a little bit loose, but everybody just said it was the way that line was. But I think he's going to be one of the first ones to go back and forth and try to see what it's going to be like to race them both. We obviously say all the time, we know how far it is to Pensacola. Mm-hmm. We totally understand it because we drive that way to go to the Derby and attempted to try to make a couple of more races this year. But it's a long drive. We totally get it. But there for the longest time, all the Texas guys were supporting Pensacola. Now there's a chance for some of the Florida guys and the Alabama guys to come and support Texas. I think it's a good thing. I'm like you. I think it can open up. Houston is far away, but it's still close enough to be part of that Southeast racing fury.
Yeah, and the track, I mean, I was talking to some folks on Saturday night, and they were talking about it's a shame that we only have one, asphalt track. But I said to them, I mean, no offense to San Antonio or to Kyle or to any of them, CC. I mean, we got one left. If we only have one, I'm glad it's that one because, I mean, no doubt about it. I mean, they spent a lot of money when they converted that thing over to asphalt from Big H, and the facilities are great. And if I'm going to go sit and watch a race, I want to go to that track before I go to any of the other ones because it's the most comfortable. I mean, it's got great bleachers. I mean, all of that is great. There's concrete and pavement everywhere, and that's the one I want to have in that market. And that market pays off because we're watching videos of the flyover from Rod Ryan and Gina's little plan here is really starting to come together, and it just took something big like that. It took a big balls effort. No offense to Gina, it took a big balls effort like that one to pull it off because now, man, things are starting to happen.
Yeah, it seems like the COVID put a big wrench in the overall plans and trying to get stuff rolling that way. But I think now that the feet are on the ground, right? The worst of the COVID is hopefully behind us, and we can all start concentrating on 2021. And I'm interested to see what shakes out for 2021. I don't see the momentum is there, and I don't see it slowing down at all. So it's going to be nice to see how everything pans out to go from a good solid ending to 2020 into a good positive outlook for 2021. And I think that a lot of the racers now are still any of the races that were on the fence were thinking about trying to build cars and get ready to go. I think they're going to be pleasantly surprised with some of the developments coming up for 2021.
Yeah, just get out there and give it a shot and see what happens. Still lots of things to work out and races to run. So that's the most important part. The momentum is definitely good. Saw out of I-37, hopefully thoughts and prayers there, man. We saw one heck of an finish to the factory stock race there on Saturday night, man. A brutal crash along the front straightaway, and it took out man, that was some major carnage that I saw in that video. Jamie Campbell wins the late models, Texas Sweet Tea. He wins the factory stocks and the limited modifieds there at the USRA I-37 Speedway. Track condition, I think, was eventually what was the cause for the end of the night. But, man, that was some gruesome stuff that happened right there at the end of that race night.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of positive talk about the racing surface there at I-37. A lot of people were talking about on social media how rough it was and how bad it was. But that's sometimes what you get in the middle of Texas, right? You just sometimes don't know what you're going to get if you put enough water on the racetrack or don't put enough water on the racetrack, depending on what Mother Nature is going to do or what Mother Nature's already done. So sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong, and I think that's may have been what happened the for the situation there for the surface at I-37.
Yeah, well, this was a scenario from apparently, and Texas. We never know. I mean, we never know what the weather's doing. I mean, here, apparently they had got a bunch of rain. I think they had 4 or 5 inches of rain out there at some point between Thursday and Saturday, and that's where it gets to be a tough call for the race promoter. I mean, we are for the most part, 95% of the time, big, advocates of the race promoter, because I saw some stuff on Saturday where they're reaching out to Ray and they're asking, are we racing? I mean, is this going to happen? I'm trying to get leave. I mean, you know how that goes when you have a situation like that where folks are trying to figure out if the racing is going to happen. And these guys, put an effort together and tried to get that track together. And I think a lot of it was the track prep was done by Mother Nature, and obviously it didn't work out. And I did see video. It looked pretty extreme out there. And it's sad. I mean, I hate to see stuff get tore up, and I hate to see promoters getting beat up when they're working their asses off to try to make this stuff happen. But it just looked like it was a bad chain of events, from Saturday morning moving forward for those guys.
Yeah, but sometimes it happens. I mean, obviously, nobody's going to be perfect. Nobody's got the perfect weather forecast. Nobody can predict exactly what this dirt's going to do. And I think all in all, sometimes I get that the racers are frustrated, and I get that they don't want their stuff tore up. But at the same time, sometimes the biggest thing we tell racers sometimes is you got to put yourself in a promoter's perspective. Put your boots on the same way that the promoter does. Promoter doesn't want to cancel races any more than anybody else does. Mm-hmm. And so I think that the desire to race, it could have been an issue there at I-37. Maybe they shouldn't have raced, but the fact is they raced, and there's a little bit of carnage and a little bit of issues with the racetrack. But that's all right, because that's what happens. That's racing. Some days we talk about it all the time. There's no windshield or bug. It's statue or toilet. Yeah. That's the joy of being a racer, because that's the way it is. It's the same stuff everywhere you race, no matter what surface, no matter what division. It's racing, and that kind of stuff happens.
That's exactly right. Denise West will join us shortly from the Lone Star Quarter Midget Association over in San Antonio. They're in jeopardy there of losing their facilities over at Comanche Park, and we'll talk about that. They got a big event coming up on Saturday. We'll ask her about that, but the main thing is just try to figure out if there's any way that all of us as a racing community can figure out a way to help them, because those kids, man, that's it said it on Saturday night. I mean, you got to keep those kids involved to keep this thing rolling, because like I said, a lot of the old fans get pissed off and walk away, and the young ones never get involved. So there's a lot of things to deal with there. Kind of our roll call of winners. We got to give a big shout out Gracie Trotter. She wins her first late model stock car race at Hickory Motor Speedway. Pretty damn cool place to win right there.
Yeah, definitely one of the show places, although it's not what I would call a grade A facility, but it's one of those facilities kind of like Indianapolis. When you walk into the place, it's special just because of the names that's raced there. And even something as simple as the promoters that have promoted that track, but not a better place to get your first win than Hickory Motor Speedway.
And Gracie's been really good. We've been working, behind the scenes here for a while to try to get her on and to try to get stuff to coordinate. It's been really tough with her, but hopefully we're able to do that. But good for her. She's run really well throughout the year in her various series that she's running in. So to pick up that late model stock car win, that's really, really good. Over in Cordell, you've got Kyle Purvis. He wins the America 50, I believe it was, for the Modifieds of Mayhem as they start to wind their schedule down. So again, hopefully that affords those guys an opportunity to come race for $7,000 in Houston.
Yeah, I think the race in Houston coming up on the 26th actually pays more than the Snowball Derby does to win. Yeah. So hopefully that'll bring a few more guys down this way to just try to check out Texas and just try to see that we really are an asphalt racing state, even though we've only got one track.
Yep, just need one. One thing that I thought was really cool on Saturday night, and I know we're jumping around here, but Saturday night, I don't know how many people realize this, but David Starr was at Houston Motorsports Park checking out this event, and somebody kind of clued me in that he was there. Got to go talk to him, sat with him for a good while before the races there, and he and Bob Whoop Clark, we kind of went back there and talking about fun stuff. But David Starr, I asked him, I said, hey, I'll come over and interview. He's like, well, no, if you got other stuff. I mean, David's like, man, it's just great to be here. It's great to be at a local track. It's good to see these guys doing their thing. And we're sitting there talking, and right at the end, David's like, man, I might have to put me one of these together and have it somewhere.
Well, I know there towards the end of the night, you talk about as you get older and more humble. When David Starr was leaving, he was talking to Jake Kruger. I guess he thought Jake might have been the driver, and they called Mason over, and he had Starr had a really good long talk with Mason, and that was one of those to where they would definitely Mason was definitely David was definitely complimentary of Mason, and Mason was able to have a good racing talk with somebody that he knows and seen and respects for all the stuff he's done in racing.
Yeah, I thought it was so cool when I was talking to David and those guys. It was David never went off and wanted to talk about the stuff he's doing with Xfinity or what he was talking about. He's talking about Ronnie Chumley. He's talking about racing their Big H and all of this, and he was just he seemed thoroughly excited to be back in the trenches there with local racing, and he's the one as well. I mean, he looked at me point blank and he said, "We've got to do everything that we can to make this place work." He said, "Because we've got everything we need right here. We just need to bring people in," and he's ready to help, and that's cool seeing that from someone that, I mean, he doesn't have to do that. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's really great to see that. And you said David Starr doesn't have to support the local racetrack. His banners are up, right? Actually, I think his banner's right up next to ours.
Right next to ours, yeah.
They're at Houston Motorsports Park, but it's just cool to see somebody that's gone all over the country and raced at a bunch of different racetracks, and he knows right there in his own backyard there in Houston of what a special place that is. Some people think that Houston's not all that special and it's not that great of a facility, but if you go to other facilities around the country, local short tracks, you don't realize how good you have it there at Houston Motorsports Park. Yeah, sure, occasionally the outside groove needs to have a little bit more rubber sticky stuff up on the outside, but for the most part, there's always good competitive racing at H&P, and despite what some people say about a one groove track, if you got the setup, you can run on the outside. Hell, Max proved that on Saturday night, just coming out of the rain break right there.
Yeah, he did. You want to talk about a big move right there? I mean, Caius puts that thing on the outside, and that was great racing right there. And how happy was Max? I mean, we got to talk to Max over at the tech party, and that was one fired up little dude right there. I mean, he was so excited, and good for him, because he's had a terrible year when it comes to luck. I mean, they've been plenty fast, but he just has not been able to put it all together. And he ran a smart race. Ran clean. There were a couple of times where I'm thinking, Max, maybe use the bumper here, but he never did. Waited. I'm sure that track got green, the track got cleaned off, and man, he seized the opportunity and just took off.
Yeah, I mean, I think he jumped from the outside in. If you hadn't had a chance to check out the whole night of racing there with the $10,000 to win Texas Truck Challenge, all that's available for free on YouTube. You saw some of the highlights there, some of the video packages that we were showing when Mason was racing, but all of it's there. I think it's about 5 hours long, so you don't have to watch it all at one time, but I was watching some of that. That flyover was perfect timing there, partner.
Yeah, wasn't that good? That actually worked out. That worked out really nice. So, yeah, and by the way, that folks are asking about the pay-per-view thing, or, pay subscription to watch all of this stuff. It's weird to me, yet exciting, that people are asking me about this when they're able to watch it for free. But that continues to work out. Gina and the guys are working to get this thing, the Speed Sport package, put together. It's one of those things where I don't think they want to release this until they're comfortable with it. So they'll work on that. So that's their little animal right there. Coming up this weekend, we've got Texana's racing on Saturday, along with Cotton Bowl. So we've got a couple of tracks that are going to be racing together, or not together, but racing on the same night, and I'm curious to see who gets more factory stocks, because that seems to be what we're watching these days, is a factory stock battle.
I still think a factory stock race at H&P is going to be great if they ever decide to pull the trigger. Obviously, if you'd like to race your factory stock there at Houston Motorsports Park, give the powers that be a call at the Texas Short Track Racing Series. But it's going to be interesting. I think that for some reason, I just think they're going to get a few more down there in Texana than they will at Cotton Bowl. So I really think that there's a chance for Edna to get another 50, 60 cars. At this point, anything above 40 would be considered a low point night for some tracks, but 40 of them would be a pretty damn good show. That's at least one B main.
Yeah, we had a horrible night. We only had 35 cars. Yeah, that's a good problem to have. That is a very good problem to have. Speaking of thoughts, we were talking about Greg Davidson earlier. Man, we got our friends. We got a lot of friends in Louisiana and Mississippi and even parts of Florida. I mean, our racing folks in Florida. This Hurricane Sally's coming along. Now, I think we got 5 of these bad boys and girls out there in the Gulf. I mean, thinking about all of you, if you happen to be in the path of any of this has been just some crazy stuff that we're watching with this weather.
And crazy stuff in weather, but I guess it goes along with 2020 one more time. But that's lots of. I got to watch the news a little bit during lunch today, and got to see, you're right, count them 5. They're about to run out of letters, so I think when they run out of the letters, they start going into the Greek alphabet. So you definitely don't want to see that.
Man, that And that's tough. And that's one of the things that I've always thought about. It's like, man, I would love to live on the coast. I'd love to live with a beach in my backyard and have it, ready to access at any point. But man, you have to think about the fire drill that goes on each and every time that you see something happening out there in the Gulf. I mean, that's got to be nerve-wracking to have to deal with that.
It's got to be, but I guess that's, you take the pretty days at the beach and you think about exactly, what's it calculate, right? What's it calculate to? Is there more fun in the sun, or do you worry about hurricanes? I think if you worry about the hurricanes a little bit too much, then that's when you have a chance. You think you need to change the scenery and not make your front yard or backyard the Gulf of Mexico.
Great use of the words right there. Use of the word hurricane. They were worried about the hurricane this weekend in Houston as Mason Teague wins. Thanks to Mason for jumping on here. $10,000, the happy crew right there, and they were definitely, man. It was like a Super Bowl win with the excitement and the hugs and the high fives and all of that was going on. Man, that was really cool. That was really cool to see.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun seeing, especially when you talked about it, and the whole crew and everybody. There was a ton of people there at the tech shed, even at 1:30 in the morning before everything was all said and done. I was actually kind of surprised to see that many people that stuck around to see how the tech shed was going to work out. And there was also still a party going on at the Holiday Inn, but it definitely, I guess the party picked up about 2:00.
Yeah, that's when everybody rolled in that had been over at the tech shed, because there was a lot of people there. I do want to give a big thanks to Bruce Wright and Miss Ellie and all of the Wright Racing team. Those guys, I think it's kind of maybe floated under the radar a little bit. Maybe they want it to, but I'm going to throw it out there. These guys have done a really, really good job of they and their sponsors, where they've put up bonus money for like 11th place, just random stuff. I do know that Bruce had to go give. I know Bruce had to go give John Heil $100 for fast time and all of that. But they've done some really cool stuff. And what the feedback that I've gotten, not only from the folks that have received that, but from Miss Ellie, that's the one that's usually delivering this, the excitement, the appreciation, and all of that. And I think that's where it's good to see this happening at our local level, where man, that's good stuff. And I mean, it's little things. I mean, no, it's not $5,000 or whatever, but it's just the appreciation, the excitement. And I think that's what we need right now with all of it, dirt, asphalt. I mean, there's big money races, but there's little things that happen that get folks really excited, and we need to keep doing that.
I think so. It's one of those where you have a lot of people that come through and say, hey, an extra $50 here and there. Well, granted, for most people, an extra $50, that's half a tire, right? Yeah. I mean, that's one less thing that you got a chance to do. But it's nice to see that when that happens. When you get back in the later stages of the top 10, where you got 6th, 7th, and 8th, and 9th, finally getting a little bit of extra love, even 10th spot. I saw one of them was for 11th. Just the random numbers. So it's nice to see, even if it's just a little, a couple of $100, $50 here and there, 75, whatever the case may be. All of that's appreciated regardless of how much the dollar amount is. Talk to any promoter. Anytime you can get extra money for the entire purse is a good thing.
That's a really good thing. I mean, just to bump that up. And I think, a lot of folks, because you talk to a lot of racers, and the mindset is good, because they say, and it doesn't matter, because it's actually something that Terry James and I were talking about as well. Just good to talk to Terry. Hadn't seen Terry in such a long time. And Terry was saying, racers, I think, are finally realizing we wish we could do this for a living. I mean, we wish that this is what we did, and it was our day job. It was our bread maker and everything else. But we realize that it's not what we do, and you just want to be a part of it. You just want to be a part of it, and maybe find an opportunity to be able to break through and be able to be the one that wins a race like Mason just did. But the mindset seems to be right now where people understand what this sport's all about.
Yeah, I think so. I think that, I think a lot of the racers or the mindset of they're just happy to be racing. That was the one thing we talked about through this entire pandemic, is that it made you be grateful about the races that you do have. Yep. If that's anything that the pandemic ends up teaching us, especially in the world of racing, is that never take the races that you have for granted. And I think we've seen that as we've come back to race the next couple of races after we've come back from the pause, is that these guys are really not taking it for granted. And I think everybody seems to be happier in the pits. Obviously there's you're never going to make everybody happy, but a lot of these racers are really truly just happy to be able to be back out on the racetrack.
Yeah, absolutely. And with these racers, I mean, you see youngins throughout the pits and throughout the grandstands, and that's what makes this sport run. I mean, it really is. It always has been. I mean, we all start at a very young age. We've got some friends out in San Antonio, the Lone Star Quarter Midget Club, where these guys are in a fight, essentially a fight for their lives out there to keep their facility going. And we've got on the Revved Up Sports Show hotline, Denise West joins us. She's the director there. Denise, how are you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing all right. How are you, sir?
I am doing extremely well. Thanks for taking the time. A little bit of backstory here. Denise is like in their board of directors meeting today, and she's trying to get this done. So thanks so much for the last minute. But tell us a little bit about what's going on out there.
Well, we are located inside of a county park. This is our 61st year at that location.
Wow.
There's been a couple times throughout the years that the county has tried to take the park back. I believe the last time was 10 years ago. And when COVID happened, they closed down the entire park, and like as in most parks around the state. And when things started to open back up, I had started getting pressure to ask, try to find out if we could open. I kept getting told no, and so finally I took it a little bit higher to the county judge, and I was working to speak with this woman named Betty. We spoke several times. We went back and forth. And eventually, I satisfied her requirements enough for her to send me a letter saying, yes, you can open up. We had, I believe, 3 additional practice dates plus the 3 additional races left on the season. And we had very specific guidelines to follow on these days. And then the next day, I received a letter stating, we're glad we could let you finish out your season, but this will be the last one. Make sure by January, whatever it was, to have everything that you want off the property, or else it'll be sold. So I was kind of blindsided by that. I thought I thought through our talks we were talking about, opening back up, but really we were getting dirt on closing entirely. And so that's where we are at this point, basically.
Jeez.
So Denise, have they said anything about what the plans are for Comanche Park? Are they trying to come in and get somebody to redevelop it? Is that for the quickness of trying to get you guys out of there?
No, she said that at first she said that other nonprofits had to have the chance to bid on the property. And so I asked if we had the chance to bid on the property, and she said, well, if it goes that way, then she'll let me know. But at this point, the county has no plans for the property and no plans to make a plan for what they're going to do for the property. And we are located in a flood zone. It's been a flood zone for 20, 30 plus years. That is the most recent thing that she's come up with why we have to get out, is that we're in a flood zone. She said anything from insurance, and so we've updated our insurance. She said that someone complained to the county offices that the county property is being used for something that they can't afford to do. And my reply to that was, well, we have loaner cars where we loan the car for half of the season, and we loan almost all the year, so to make this more affordable. But everything I have an answer to or a solution for, has been, she comes back with a new reason as to why, it won't work out. We have to go.
Oh my goodness. That's horrible. I mean, talk about it, Denise. I mean, we've got the River City Quarter Midget Club here, and a lot of our Austin drivers have come through that. I think that you've spent a lot of your life out there. I know that we've got, Kenny Neals and Robin McCalls and all of these folks that have come through that group. I mean, talk about the history. It's just so rich, and this is where we grow our next racers are right here in these clubs.
Absolutely. I mean, the club did go dormant in the 80s for a while, and my uncle did. He was instrumental in starting it back up again. My dad raced on this track as a child. All my uncles did. So even the Labonte boys, they raced on this track. Brennan Poole raced on this track. We have several NASCAR officials that are currently NASCAR officials that raced on this track. As a child, I raced on this track for over 10 years, and now I have my 3 girls. They're racing. So I mean, it's been something that's very important to my family. It's been a part of my life. I feel like that track is my second home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what are the options, Denise? What can we do to try to help save your track down there?
Right now, I'm asking for anyone that's willing to write me letters, telling letters of support towards the club, the track. We have a petition going around on our Facebook page. At this point, I really need somebody somebody higher up. I need the attention of the county commissioner, of the county judge, and I'm supposed to be getting, in talks with them, but every time something, it ends up falling through every time to even speak to them. So that I need somebody ahead of this woman to really tell me what we're doing, and then if it is a no, I'm not sure where we go, but we don't give up. That's all I know. We fight until the end.
Yeah, and I have we have the on our video feed, we've got that letter up that was posted. Is that the person that we would need to be reaching out to and try to rattle their cage, as Earnhardt said a little bit?
Sure,
okay.
Absolutely. You can send letters to that person, or you can send them directly to me. And when I do finally get this meeting with the commissioner or judge, I plan on printing all of these and presenting them. My email address is bw, as in bird, west racing 84@yahoo.com. I appreciate anybody that's willing to write me a letter. On our Facebook page, Lone Star Quarter Midgets, we have the link to the petition that we're having signed. We have over 2,000 signatures in just a couple of days. I mean, people all over the United States have been affected with quarter midgets. They love the sport, and it really is a very family-friendly sport.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, like I was saying, I mean, this is where, I mean, you look at on the Cup Series, on the Xfinity Series, late model racing, this is where they start. I mean, this is where they
Absolutely.
start. So it's totally important. So with all of that going on, you guys have a big event coming up this weekend, I believe.
Yes, we have a doubleheader here in San Antonio this weekend. It's our first time being back allowed on this track in almost a year.
Wow.
The last race was the end of October last year that we were able to race on our track.
Man. So
wow.
I'm sorry, Bobby. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, wow, that they have had to go a year without racing on the track, and then you've got a handful of races before they try to shut the place down again. That's just not good.
Absolutely. I mean, it almost stung a little bit at the end of that letter. If you see it, it says something along the lines of, good luck on a great rest of your season. Like, oh, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Damn. Yeah. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. You're pulling the rug out from underneath us. Do you think, Denise, that this would be a thing where for your race coming up on Saturday? I mean, if we get media out there, or if one would get media out there, and I mean, just to try to make just anything. I think anything at this point, we need to reflect attention out there, because these are kids, and I mean, especially in this day and age where you've got kids that are doing Lord knows what. This is something that's very controlled. Like you said, it's family friendly. We need to have something like this, especially there in San Antonio.
Yeah. Every day my 8-year-old wakes up and asks me, are they still taking my track? Like, golly, it makes me sad.
Oh,
it really breaks my heart.
Yeah, that's crushing. Oh my goodness.
So I mean, we have reached out to media outlets. I'm hoping to get something. I know it's getting to be short notice, but I'd love to have any kind of media out there that we can showing. I mean, if nothing else, it'll show that we're following the guidelines that have been laid out for us, but show how many people really do love the sport, and how many kids, if we can actually show how many kids would be affected by this, they can come out and see these kids, in their race suits, trying their hardest, the passion, the drive, and the determination that these kids have, it might soften their hard hearts.
You would hope. Jeez. Oh,
I would hope.
I'm getting pissed off more here by the minute, honestly. So, anyway.
And me too. Trust me.
Yeah,
it's literally heartbreaking for me.
I bet.
So, Denise, what other than your big race, you got the doubleheader coming up? What's the rest of the schedule look like? I mean, how many more races do you guys have, at least for right now? And what can everybody do to support the last couple of races you've got there?
After this, our races are going to be held in Austin, and then we don't race again in San Antonio until November 7th and 14th, if I'm correct. Those are Saturdays. I honestly, I'm not sure at this point. There might be a GoFundMe at some point, and if there are, we'll post that on our Facebook page. Right now, we just signatures, just email, letters, hoping to, like I said, melt the heart of the higher ups that we need to get in touch with.
Yeah, well, I think it comes down to a case like this where you just have to, you've got to get one. I mean, you've got to get one that you can get into and really dig into them and get them on our side. And I think that would be where hopefully that would help there. It's funny, Denise, I was talking to a buddy of mine. He's probably on this feed somewhere. I don't think he wanted me to mention this, but he actually said that he raced with you. Won't give the year that he raced with you out there in the quarter midgets. And this said individual, he hit a wall or something. And he said, this guy walks up to me guy with a mustache, tall guy. He comes up and he says, you got to keep on keeping on. He said, and I'll be damned, that was Terry Labonte. That kind of legacy out there with the Lone Star Quarter Midgets. I mean, what does that say about what you guys have been doing?
Absolutely. And I believe the Labontes will actually be coming out pretty soon. We have the very first car that they ever raced, and we're giving it back to them. And so they're going to be coming out and visiting with us pretty soon here in the next couple of weeks. It was supposed to be earlier this year due to COVID. Things got pushed back. So I believe we'll have the Labonte brothers around soon, and I'm sure they'll be writing letters and helping. The last time that they tried to take our track, 10 years ago, the Labonte brothers actually were instrumental in helping.
Oh my goodness! Well, that's good armor right there. I mean, that's the guys you need right there. Please, if that comes about, message me, let me know. I mean, we would love to be a part of that, and
sure.
we can get it online. We do a radio show in Austin, on Saturdays. We'd love to try to help you guys do this. Lastly, so at this point, again, just kind of reaffirm that. Write letters, sign petitions, just anything. Facebook posts, the power of social media. Just post stuff that gets in front of people. And hopefully the right eyes see it, and maybe we can get this done.
Absolutely. We just need the right person to care.
Yeah, absolutely. Denise, we are on your side. When we were told about this, it's like, man, we got to jump aboard here. And it's the kids, man. It's all about the kids. They're the ones that keep this going. And let us know how to help, please.
I appreciate you so much, and thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you for the time. Take care.
Have a good day.
You bet. That sucks.
That's not a good thing at all for the kids in there. Yeah, it's heartbreaking to know that they're taking that away after 61 years of racing action. They're at the same place. Some of the names that have come out of there are just synonymous with world class, world championship talent race car drivers.
If she would have said, yeah, they're going to build condos. They have a plan to build condos, and they want to build a supermarket or whatever the case may be. I'd be like, well. I do wonder. It does. I mean, we've seen a lot of things that go by the wayside because of that, and that's just growth and sprawl and the way it happens. But when she said it's in a flood zone, I happen to know a thing or two about real estate. And when you're in a flood zone and you want to run these people off that are paying rent, they're doing something good for people. That's part of the. Don't get me started. But that sucks. That sucks.
Yeah. There's not a lot of business that's going to happen on a floodplain, so there's not a talk about redeveloping it. But I got a feeling there's somebody somewhere that's trying to get it into somebody's pocket to try to get that place rezoned for something else. Yeah. You watch. That's what's going to happen.
No doubt. And that's the way this stuff works. I mean, that there is a plan. I know that she says there's not, and that letter may say that there's not, but there's got to be a plan. And I think what needs to happen here to make this to make this really work out and to save this is, number one, we got to get in, or people need to get in, and they need to figure out what that plan is, because that will really dictate how this will work out. I mean, if there's an opportunity, if you've got Terry and Bobby Labonte that are going to be a part of this, I mean, I think that's really good. But what I would say is I would throw the charge over to the like we were talking about, the racers that have raced there. This is where, I mean, San Antonio, you guys, you lose your tracks. You lose your tracks, and I can tell you that if you want one that's a little bit more in the metropolitan San Antonio area, you need to have a quarter midget track there that's producing you your next racers. So I think this is where San Antonio race fans need to get after it and make this happen. Obviously, we will too, but man, it's in our hands. I mean, let's fight a good cause here.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to just let it happen. It's another thing if you try to put up the good fight and keep it from happening. And so, all the time and effort may be for naught. But I'd rather put up a fight and have it not turn out to be versus not doing anything at all and let it just go by the wayside and wish we'd have done something sooner.
Yeah. Gotta go down swinging. They've got a big event coming up September 19th, this Saturday. So if you have an opportunity, get out there and tell your friends about it and tell people about what's going on out there, and hopefully we can all kind of put our heads together. I mean, we've been on this charge to make dirt track racing really cool in Texas, and at the same time, we've been on this charge to bring asphalt racing back. So this can be done. We just have to do it together, and that I think we'll be okay. We'll be okay. Don't panic. Just have a plan.
That's right. Don't panic. Just have a plan, and we'll see what we can do to help get this thing rocking and rolling.
Yep, absolutely. Send us anything, revvedupsportshow@gmail.com. Any ideas, whatever that we might be able to help with, by all means, please let us know. Man, what a show. emotions, man. You got a guy that just wins $10,000, and we talked to a lady that's spent her life at a quarter midget track that's about to get it taken away from her. Unfortunately, hopefully not from the city. That's rough, but a good program. That's good stuff.
Yeah, lots of good stuff tonight, just like always. Don't forget, coming up will be I believe our third birthday coming up next week on the show.
Is that next week?
That's next week on the 19th. Actually, wait, 19th or 20th? On the 20th.
Nice.
Should be the third birthday of the Revved Up Sports Show, and that's the same weekend as the Bristol Night Race.
Ah, that's right. That is coming up on Saturday. You will have the Bristol Night Race. Hey, how about that, y'all? We went through a whole show, and it didn't come up till the last minute. Y'all happy now?
That's right. Happy. We didn't talk about the NASCAR stuff all that much, unless it involved NASCAR Houston.
The N-word didn't come up until the final minute of the show. Pretty impressive. Thanks to Mason D. Congratulations on $10,000, brother. And thank you, Denise West from Lone Star Quarter Midget Association. We'll definitely help join that fight. Good stuff. Hopefully somebody wins a badass golf cart at the end of this when they flip off this. Thank you, Rachel, for working with us on that.
Yeah, hopefully somebody wins a really nice golf cart from H and Marianne. So that's stay tuned to that one. Let us know who wins. Maybe that'll be the next person who pops up on the Revved Up Sports Show hotline.
Yeah, there you go. Good stuff. Have a great week. Get yourself out to Texana. Get yourself out to Cotton Bowl Speedway. And you folks over on the coast, Hurricane Sally's coming. Be cool. Thoughts and prayers over to Greg Davidson. We're with you, buddy. We are with you. Be nice to someone. You never know what they're going through. You're going to feel better as well afterwards. Bobby, thank you, my brother. Good stuff.
And good stuff as always. Happy birthday, early birthday.
Absolutely. It is coming up. Revved Up Sports Show. #Real Race Talk Texas. Catch you next Monday.